What's happening, y'all? Last week, we talked about why leads don't convert. This week, we're going to go a step further. We're going to talk about you got the lead. Now what? What do I do now? Because here's what I see happen all the time. As business owners, we get a lead, we get excited, we reach out once, and then does nothing, right? That's what we do as business owners, and the deal dies. Not because the deal wasn't real, not because it wasn't a good lead, not because it wasn't a quality lead, because the follow-up was wrong. And today I'm going to give you the follow-up formula that we use in our seven-figure operation here in 20 minutes. So stay with me. So real quick, I want you to drop in the chat where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, drop in the chat where you're watching from, because you know I'm going to see it anyway. We're in the great country of Texas in the San Antonio area. So hello to everyone. Hello. So let's get into it, man. Most business owners, we treat follow-up like it's optional, right? And it's not. It's actually the job. It's the main thing that we need to do to convert leads, right? So here are I'm going to give you the three things that separate the operators who close from the ones who wonder why their leads went cold, right? And there's three things I'm going to talk to you about. First is speed is the first to close. Next is follow-up has a sequence, not a script. And then the last thing is the follow-up that actually closes. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is speed is the first to close, right? So the first follow-up is not about selling. It's about speed, right? We talked about it last week. The moment that a lead comes in, your only job is to make contact. Not tomorrow, not in a few hours, but now, right? So you want to get in touch with them again within 5 minutes, 21 times more likely to convert a lead if you get to them within the first 5 minutes. And again, you're not closing on that call. You're just making contact, right? We run a manufactured home business, and when a lead hits our board, my team is trained to respond within minutes. And it's not because we're desperate, right? Because that's not the deal at all. It's because speed signals that we're serious, right? We want to let people know we're serious about what we do. We're serious about the fact that we got you in, you submitted a form, however the lead came in, right? We're serious about doing business with you. And serious operators and serious operations are going to attract serious buyers. And that's what you want. You want a person who knows that you are serious about what you do, because you could probably agree with me. You may or may not agree with me, but there's a lot of operations out there, a lot of operators out there who they may be serious, but their operations don't say that they are serious, right? And so we want to let people know, signal to them, we're serious, because that's going to attract serious buyers, and that's going to attract people who want to do business with you. Because the truth of the matter is, if you wait, someone else won't to get in contact with them. Someone else is going to get in contact with them if you wait. So don't hesitate, get them. Next thing is that follow-up has a sequence, not a script. The second mistake that I see and that I used to make a lot is following up with no structure, right? So I would send one text and get no reply and give up, right? And if you've done that before and you can relate, hit me with a thumbs up. I will thumbs up all over this comment section, because that's not a follow-up. It's a coin flip, man. You spent money, you spent time, you spent effort, blood, sweat, and tears. To get that lead in, and they reached out to you. They filled out a form. They did something to get in contact with you, and now you text them one time, you call, and they don't reply, and we give up. And we can't do that if we want to run a successful operation. And I really, truly, it's my desire that you run a successful operation. And so the sequence that we use, right, is day one, they get a call and a text, right? And they actually get an email as well. We talked about that last time. They get an automatic email as soon as they submit the form, no matter if they're a buyer or a seller, which is the types of leads that we get, right? We get people who are looking to buy a mobile home. We get people who are looking to sell a mobile home. regardless of who they are, where they came from, they're going to get an automatic email that says, hey, we see you, right? Then they're going to get a call, and then they're going to get a text from us as well. Day two, we're texting them with value. We're sending them something useful. For us, that looks like, hey, here are three things that you should keep in mind when you're buying a mobile home. Hey, here are three things you should keep in mind when you're selling your mobile home. Something that they can use, right? Whether or not they do business with us, we want to make sure that we are adding value to the situation, because we're constantly, in every interaction that we have with people, we want to make sure that we're over delivering and we're under promising, right? So we want to add as much value as we can to the time that we have with them, right? So that's day two, we text with values. Then day three, we call them again. We text them again. Day five, they're getting an email, and they're also getting a call. And then day seven is the final reach out. And there's sometimes where we'll get a lead, and maybe you can relate, and we're not able to make contact at all. Maybe they gave us a bad phone number. Maybe they gave us a bad email. You name it, right? Different situations. But day seven, typically the seventh time that we touch it, typically is the final reach out. So we've got 7 touches minimum before we decide whether a lead is dead, right? Quote unquote. Most people quit at 2, right? And that's not great. That's basically a hole in your ship, right? You're leaking revenue. That gap is where your revenue lives, right? So that's super important. Next thing is, last thing actually, point 3, follow-up that actually closes. The third thing is, and here is what most people miss, is that follow-up is not about chasing, right? We're not chasing people, right? That's not what we're doing. It's about creating certainty. Because every time you reach back out to somebody, your message should do one thing. It should reduce their risk and increase their clarity about who they're dealing with, right? You increase the clarity of who they're dealing with. They're dealing with someone who's serious. So whatever it is, the thing that you're looking to fulfill on, for example, if it's a product, whether it's a service, you want them to know that you have the thing that they are looking to get, and that they should work with you, right? You want to make sure that their risk is as you continue to follow up, as they continue to see you reaching out, they're like, oh wow, man, this person has hit me up again. And maybe life happens. God knows they're probably doing 10 other things, right? You know how things get busy, right? And you can lose sight of what it is that you've been interested in at some point in time. And you increase the clarity of the type of individual, the type of operation that they're dealing with, then that's going to answer questions that they haven't even asked yet, right? It's going to remove objections before they even come up, which is essentially what you want to do when you're dealing with somebody in business. Something that we say internally is speed and certainty, right? One of the guys that I follow, I think it's Alex Ormos, says money loves speed. And it's true, right? If you want more revenue, you got to get executing quicker, right? You got to move quick. So if you show up fast and you make them feel like the decision is easy, then they're going to be more likely to do business with you. That's the formula, man. That's the formula. So if any of this is hitting home and you want to work through your specific follow-up process with me directly, drop legacy in the comments and I'll reach out to you personally, and we can have a conversation about it, man. So those are the 3 things. I want to open it up and answer any questions that you have. So I'm going to keep it tight here. I've got about 3 minutes, and I want to make sure that we make it count. So someone asked me this week, what do you do when a lead tells you that they need to think about it, right? So here's exactly how I handle it. And so if somebody tells me that they want to think about it, right, I'm gonna call with them, or I'll let them know, hey, that sounds like a great idea, and I would want to think about it as well. I said, when you do, and then I'll ask them, when you do think about it, what's the specific thing that'll be on your mind, right? Because I want to keep the conversation flowing, I want to keep the conversation open, and I want them to be able to share with me whatever is behind that objection, right? Because 9 times out of 10, the objection is not that they want to think about it. It's there's something behind that that they're not sharing with you, and you just have to uncover what that is, right? You name it. You can replace it with, well, I need to talk to my spouse about it. That sounds like a really good idea. I would want to talk to my spouse because happy wife, happy life, right? She's the boss type of thing. And then I'll tell them, when you do talk to her, how do you think she'll respond, or what do you think she'll say? And so I use that. I learned that from a guy that's a killer at negotiation, man. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read it. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And he talks about labeling, right? And so, amen. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. That's the boss right there. So Chris Voss talks about labeling. So it sounds like you really want to put some thought into that. It sounds like it's important for you to talk to your wife, right? You're labeling the things. You're not calling it out. You're saying it sounds like. And then a calibrated question, or a question that somebody can't answer with just saying yes or no. And so that's where I got that specific sequence, and it works. I love Chris Voss. He says everything in life is a negotiation, and I have learned that is absolutely true, right? No matter what kind of situation you are engaged in, whether it's a business interaction or it's personal, whatever it is that you're doing, everything in life is a negotiation. So if you haven't read that book, highly recommend that you grab that book. Another question that I get most often about follow-ups is, how many follow-ups is too many? For me, if I'm honest, the truth, I don't have a number necessarily. I know I said that the seven hitting them up, if they're not answering, then it's dead. But the truth is that I'm looking for a no. And if once they tell me that they have already acquired the thing that it is that they were looking to us for business to acquire. So in other words, if they wanted a mobile home and they tell me I already got a mobile home, got it. Thank you so much. If you know anybody else, let me know, right? Thank you for your time. If they're looking to sell their mobile home, I already sold my mobile home, right? So I'm looking for a no. I'm looking for them to give me a hard no. If all that I've gotten is silence, in other words, I don't have any clarity on whether yes or no they are interested in still doing business, then I'm going to keep following up, right? We've had people that 2 months after, 3 months after, have reached back, that we called again, said, you know what, I'm still looking to do the thing and I haven't been able to. Thank you for calling back. So there's not a number necessarily. I'm looking for the no. Last question that I get often is, what's the biggest follow-up mistake that I made early on? Would you like a alphabetical or chronological list would be my response to that. But honestly, I'll tell you, the lack of sequence for follow-ups, right? And because of the lack of sequence, it made for a very messy, there was no system in place for this is the way that I do it every time that I get a lead that I need to follow up with. So because of that, a lot of my leads were just lost. They died, and they probably did business with somebody else because I didn't have a sequence, because I wasn't following up intentionally and to have a meaningful conversation with them. So that's it. So that's it. That's it for today. But here's what I want to leave you with, right? Here's what I want to leave. Speed. Here's what I want to leave you with. Speed is the first close. Sequence beats scripts all day long. And every follow-up should create certainty, not pressure. So those are the 3 things. I'll repeat them. Speed is the first close. Sequence beats scripts. And follow-up should create certainty, not pressure. So if you want to go deeper on this, if you want me in your corner to help you to build out your actual follow-up system for your business specifically, I want you to drop legacy in the comments right now. I'm taking on a small group of operators, and I will reach out to you directly. I'll be back here next Thursday at noon. Same deal, about 15 to 20 minutes. Let's go. Build your legacy. We'll see you next week.